In Columbia, South Carolina, right in the middle of a lively college town, a young student named Samantha Lee Josephson's life took a sudden and sad turn. Her story caught the attention of many across the country, highlighting the hidden dangers in everyday life. Samantha, full of life and dreams, was a shining light at the University of South Carolina. No one could have guessed that a normal evening out would lead to tragic events, deeply affecting those who knew her. Samantha was born to Seymour and Marcy Josephson in Princeton, New Jersey, and grew up in Robbinsville, New Jersey. She went to the University of South Carolina, choosing political science as her major. At the time of her tragic end, she was a senior, looking forward to graduating in 2019 and going to Drexel University School of Law. She aimed to be a lawyer, focusing on international law, a dream supported by a full scholarship to Drexel University. Samantha, who dreamed of becoming an international lawyer, got a partial scholarship to Reuter. She was part of the Alpha Gamma Delta sorority, studied in Barcelona for a while, and also visited Madrid and Paris while she was in South Carolina. Samantha was known for her stunning beauty and her lovely smile. She had a boyfriend named Greg, and they were very close to each other. They made sure to stay in touch every day, constantly texting and calling whenever they could. They had big plans for their future together, with Greg planning to move in with Samantha to support her while she went to law school. Everything seemed to be going well until a sudden change on Friday, March 29, 2019, when Samantha didn't come back to her apartment. This was especially concerning because everything seemed fine on the evening of March 28, 2019. Samantha had plans to spend the evening out with her roommate and a few other friends in Columbia, South Carolina. Her boyfriend Greg was supposed to come along, but he was in his hometown at that moment. Even so, he told Samantha to go out and enjoy herself without him. Samantha was feeling sad because a family member was sick, and she really needed something to take her mind off things. Going out with her friends seemed like the perfect way to cheer herself up. The group visited several bars, but they ended up spending most of their time at a place called the Bird Dog Bar, located in a lively area known as 5 Points, where lots of students go to hang out and have a good time. Even though Samantha was trying to have fun with her friends, she kept messaging Greg, asking him if he could drive for 2 hours to come and see her in Columbia because she really needed his support. They had already planned to meet up soon, but Samantha's messages showed how much she needed him to be there for her right then. The weekend that followed, her boyfriend made the decision to stay put, not changing his initial decision, yet he continued to stay in touch with her regularly. Close to 2 a.m., Samantha made up her mind to return to her apartment on her own. She used her phone to call for an Uber, a well-known service for sharing rides, something she and her friends often did. This time, however, her decision to use Uber would lead her into a dangerous situation with a murderer. As Samantha waited for her ride, she had a final phone conversation with Greg. It was around 2:04 a.m. when she told him she was on her way home in an Uber, a habit she had gotten used to. She often relied on Uber for traveling back and forth from bars as the distance was too much to cover by walking. After she had requested an Uber, a car arrived at the curb where Samantha and several other tired people from the bar were waiting for their rides. The security cameras caught her walking up to the car, only to find out it wasn't her Uber. She turned around and went back to where she was standing on the sidewalk. Samantha was dressed in an orange shirt and black trousers. A little while later, a black Chevrolet Impala, driven by a man later identified as Nathaniel David Rowland, stopped right in front of her. Samantha bid farewell to Greg, thinking this car was her Uber. Shortly after she got in, the car quickly drove off. The Uber Samantha had actually ordered showed up at the pickup spot soon after, but couldn't find her. The driver eventually canceled the ride and left. From that moment, only Samantha, a 21-year-old student of political science, and the man driving the Impala knew she had entered the wrong vehicle. Surveillance footage would later reveal that the black Chevrolet Impala had driven around the area several times before approaching Samantha. This story is a cautionary tale for anyone who was ever in the area known as 5 Points. It was well known that after the bars closed for the night, college students would hang out in the streets, waiting for their rides home. Watching him drive through these streets, it was clear to everyone that he knew exactly what he was doing that evening. Greg, being the caring boyfriend he was, decided to use the Find My Friends app to track Samantha's phone to ensure she made it back home safely. While keeping an eye on her location through the app, he noticed something odd. She was moving in the wrong direction, away from her apartment. At first, Greg wasn't too worried, thinking maybe she had plans to stop by a friend's place. However, as time passed, Greg grew concerned and sent her a text to make sure everything was okay. Sadly, he got no reply. He tried calling her, but she didn't pick up her phone. Not one to easily give up, Greg sent several more texts, only to notice that although they were delivered, Samantha hadn't read any of them. Then, to his dismay, her phone stopped sharing its location with him, something that had never happened before. This sudden change shocked Greg. He thought perhaps Samantha had accidentally left her phone in the Uber. Still concerned, he decided to call her friends and roommate to ask if they had any news about her, or if she had arrived home safely. Sadly, after she went missing, no one heard from her or saw her again. Greg held on to hope that she would return by morning and tried to sleep despite his worries. The next day, there was still no sign of Samantha. Her roommates grew increasingly worried about where she could be and decided to report her missing. Greg, her boyfriend, drove for 2 hours to Columbia to help look for her. Just a few hours after they reported her missing, a group of turkey hunters stumbled upon the body of a young woman in a forest in New Zion, roughly 65 miles from 5 Points. This was less than a day after she was last seen getting into a black car on a surveillance camera. Shocked by the terrible find, the hunters immediately called the police, and officers from the local sheriff's office came to the scene quickly. An examination of her body showed she had been attacked very violently. She had over 120 stab wounds all over her body, including her face, head, neck, hands, upper body, legs, and feet. It appeared she tried to defend herself, as her fingernails were badly damaged. The attack was so brutal that it seemed she was stabbed with a knife that had 2 sharp edges and then dragged into the woods. The autopsy also showed how much blood she lost. Normally, a person has about 4 liters of blood, but Samantha's body had only 20 milliliters left. The police were able to get video footage from the bar she was at the night before she disappeared. The video showed Samantha getting into a black Chevrolet Impala. The car had been driving around the block several times, which made it seem like the person driving was looking for someone to take. It turned out Samantha had mistakenly thought this car was her Uber ride. The real Uber she ordered arrived a little later, but when the driver saw she wasn't there, he canceled the ride and left. It's believed that she was killed shortly after getting into the car, which wasn't actually her Uber. The police think the driver used special locks that prevent the doors from being opened from the inside, trapping Samantha in the car. She wouldn't have been able to open the doors and escape. The police quickly shared information about the car with the public. In their quest to catch the criminal before he could harm anyone else, the police didn't have to wait long. Just after finding Samantha's body, they saw a black Chevrolet Impala during their night patrol at 3 a.m. on March 30th. This car was in the same neighborhood from where Samantha had been taken. When the police tried to stop the car, the driver, later identified as 24-year-old Nathaniel Rowland from New Zion, quickly got out and ran away. However, after a short chase, the police caught him a few blocks away. Upon inspecting his car, the officers found a child's car seat in the back with what looked like blood around it. This discovery led them to call for more help, treating the car as if it were part of a crime. When the detectives specialized in homicide took over, they thoroughly searched the car. They found a lot of blood on the passenger seat, in the trunk, and a bloody footprint on one of the back windows. They also found Samantha's cell phone on the floor of the car, which Rowland had tried to sell to a pawn shop that day for $125, but decided not to because he thought the offer was too low. The detectives noticed that the child safety locks on the car doors were on, which made them think this was how Rowland had kept Samantha trapped in the car. They also found cleaning supplies like bleach, window cleaner, and antibacterial wipes in the car. Despite his attempt to clean the car, there was still a lot of blood left. During questioning, Rowland kept saying he had nothing to do with Samantha's kidnapping and murder. He claimed he was innocent, even though there was a lot of evidence pointing to him being involved in the crime. After Rowland was arrested, a detailed checkup found Samantha's DNA under his nails, which was surprising. Even though her DNA was on him, his DNA wasn't found on her. This strange fact made sense when the police figured out the scary story of what happened to Samantha before she died. They thought Samantha was attacked suddenly and without warning. The fact that the child safety locks in the car were on when Rowland was caught made the police think he locked the doors right after Samantha got in, trapping her inside. Samantha had no way to defend herself against the man she thought was her Uber driver, who attacked her with a knife that had two sharp edges. The attack was so sudden and fierce that Samantha tried hard to block the hits, which explains why her hands had so many cuts and why her fingernails were so badly damaged. The force used against her was so strong that she couldn't scratch her attacker, which would have left his skin under her nails. After the terrible act, Rowland drove to a hidden road in New Zion, a place only someone from the area would know, and left Samantha's body in the woods nearby. Once he got home, Rowland acted as if nothing had happened, even posting on social media. Since he had lived in the area his whole life and his home was very close to where Samantha's body was found, these facts strongly suggested he was responsible for her death. Looking into Rowland's life showed he often went to church and had gone to South Carolina State University. In 2017, there's no information about Rowland finishing school or having a job. Despite this lack of detail about his background, Rowland had run into trouble with the law before. He was arrested in October 2018 for tricking someone into giving him something valuable. There was also a serious incident where Rowland and another man attacked a woman. They forced her to go to an ATM to take out money, then made her drive home where they stole more from her, including a PlayStation 4. Rowland wasn't found guilty of this robbery, but he did sell some things he stole from the woman, like the PlayStation. When police were looking into another case, they got permission to search the apartment of Rowland's girlfriend, Maria Howard, in New Zion, where Rowland was staying. They checked the garbage bins outside and found a sock and a bandana with a lot of blood on them, believed to be Rowland's. They also found a white sheet, a roll of duct tape, wipes with bleach and blood on them, and a knife with two blades that seemed to have blood on it. Later tests showed that the blood on the knife, the sheet, in the car, and on the wipes all belonged to Samantha Josephson. With all this evidence quickly piling up, Rowland was first charged with having a weapon during a violent crime and also with the kidnapping and murder of Samantha. The trial of Nathaniel Rowland was expected to be very tough for his family. Rowland said he was not guilty, even though there was a lot of proof against him. The trial started in the summer of 2021, and Rowland's lawyers tried to show he was innocent, mainly because they couldn't find his DNA on the person he was accused of hurting. On the other side, the people trying to prove he was guilty had a lot of evidence. They showed video from a security camera of his car picking up Samantha at 5 points and then driving away. They found a lot of her blood in his car, her bloody footprint on the back window of his car, and said he tried to use her bank card at an ATM after he got rid of her body. They also showed that their phones were in the same place when she was killed, and that he lived close to where they found her body. An expert looked at Rowland's handwriting on a list found in his house. The list had things like duct tape, gloves, a cheap phone, gasoline, and matches. The expert thought Rowland probably wrote it, making it seem like he had planned everything. The people trying to prove he was guilty brought in 31 witnesses, including someone who saw Rowland cleaning a weapon, a shop owner he tried to sell Samantha's phone to, and his ex-girlfriend who said her daughter found blood on her shoe after being in Rowland's car. Despite all this, Rowland didn't bring anyone to speak for him and his family didn't testify. He kept saying he was innocent and asked the judge for mercy. But the jury only took an hour to decide he was guilty. Nathaniel Rowland was then given a life sentence without the chance to get out of prison, ending the sad story of Samantha's death. Seymour and Marcy Josephson, heartbroken from the loss of their dear daughter, decided to take action to prevent anyone else from facing a similar tragedy. They founded the What's My Name Foundation in her honor. This foundation encourages everyone using rideshare services to make sure the driver knows their name before they get into the car. This simple step is a part of their effort to make ride-sharing safer for everyone. The Josephsons also promote a safety tip called SAMI, which stands for Stop, Ask, Match, and Inform. This is another way they are trying to keep rideshare users safe. After the sad event of their daughter Samantha's death, companies that offer ride-sharing services began to put new safety features in place. One important new feature is a 4-digit code that passengers get. This code helps make sure that the passenger is getting into the right car by matching the code with the driver's app. The loss of Samantha has deeply affected her family and friends. showing how much she meant to them. Her story is a reminder that bad things can happen when we least expect them. It encourages us to always be careful, to look after each other, and to work together to make the world a safer and kinder place. Samantha Lee Josephson's story is a call to action for all of us to be more aware and to help protect each other. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And also don't forget to share your opinion about case in the comment section. See you in the next video.